Well, after 2 episodes solely focused on one character, we finally have everyone back together, but are we moving too quickly? Let's find out. Hey guys, camera for Penny Dreadful, Season 3, Episode 6, No Be So Fierce, and obviously I was really looking forward to this episode. I mean, this season has just been on a roll lately, and especially after these past 2 episodes that focused only on one character, I was looking forward to really just seeing everyone's storyline, because it's been a while since we got to see, you know, like, Caliban's storyline, or, like, the Dory and Lily one we haven't seen since Episode 3. I was looking forward to seeing what was going to happen here, and Vanessa as well. We had a completely Vanessa-less episode last week, and I was looking forward to seeing that was going to be here, and I will say this was a great episode. It was a great episode. I do think there were some things that ended a bit too quickly, though. Like, the way this episode ended, I was just a little bit unsatisfied, but everything else was amazing. This was still an amazing episode. There were some great things here. Just the very end of it, I just wasn't as satisfied as I could have been. Not at all a bad episode. Actually, some incredible scenes this episode I absolutely loved. But let's just get into it. Starting off with the first scene, which I think gives us something that we all were kind of expecting, but never really thought would happen till now, and especially this early, I think it's very interesting, because we see, as we know at the end of last week's episode, Jared basically says that, you know, that Ethan's either going to confess his sins, or he's just going to send him to hell, and he's going to kill him, and we see Ethan looks at Jared, defiant, and Jared says to his son, repent, or he'll send him to hell, and he's literally planning on shooting him. We see he has the gun pointed right at him, but right before he come in, this is kind of a blessing, but it's also a bad thing. We see Rance comes in, says that someone's there to see Jared, and Jared returns to the main house with Ethan, and Malcolm and Hecate join them, and it's none other than Rusk and Estelle. Yes, they have finally caught up to Ethan. They finally found him, and Rusk informs Ethan that under the joint authority of the Queen and the President, he puts them all under arrest, and they're all being arrested. So I think this was something that, like I said, we knew was eventually going to happen, but never quite in the way it happened here. But this really was crazy. Just out of nowhere, he's putting him under arrest. It seems like they're all going to go to jail, and I really was surprised, because, I mean, I thought we were going to end the season with either one of two things happening. Either Russ goes the Javert way, and he kills himself, or he just ends up not being able to catch Ethan. I thought that's really what was going to happen. But he did, in fact, catch Ethan and his entire family. Even Malcolm is under arrest, and very interesting the way that went. So, in London, Sweet's familiars feed while Renfield informs Sweet that Malcolm is hunting in America. Now, it's been a while since we heard about this, but finally now we're starting to see how these things are connecting, because he talks about Malcolm hunting in America. Ethan has also abandoned Vanessa, and she doesn't know where he is, and Renfield hesitates and then says that Vanessa knows Sweet's true name of Dracula, and Sweet says that the time is upon them. He promises that soon Vanessa will come to him and assures Renfield that he is his chosen one. Sweet gestures the vampire away from the corpse they are draining, tells Renfield to feed. Eager, Renfield runs the suspended corpse, sucks at the blood, and like I said, we kind of knew that Renfield was something, but I think this episode basically gives us a hint that he is in fact a vampire, and that is why Sweet recruited him. He's a vampire. He clearly is able to suck blood. I'm pretty sure Renfield's a vampire, and I think it's a very interesting twist. I really do like the way that turned out. Again, I don't read the books. I know Renfield's a very popular character, but I don't read the books. The only book I've read is Frankenstein, because I was forced to in English, but other than that, I haven't actually read the books, so this was even more of a shock to me. I really did love that twist, though. That was really good. This episode does a very good job with that. They close some things out. They give us some scenes we've really been looking forward to, and I really did enjoy that, especially in this next scene where we see the return of a character we haven't seen in episodes. We remember last season, Ferdinand Lyle was in fact a main character. He was a main character last season. He provided them with a lot of answers. This season, he's had one scene with Vanessa, and that's really been it. But finally here, we see him again for, I think, probably maybe the last time ever in the show. We see there at the museum, Vanessa visits Lyle, finds him packing. He says that he's going on a jaunt to Cairo to visit the tomb of Imhotep, and Cairo is rumored to be more accepting of his way of life, because as we know, gays are not accepted back then, and that's something that Lyle is not ashamed about. He's okay to be the way he is, but he can't really be the way he is because of the fact that his wife obviously doesn't accept it. Cairo, though, that's a place where they will accept it, and Vanessa wonders what she'll do without Lyle, and he assures her that she'll be fine. The only reason the scene didn't exactly work for me is because we haven't seen a lot of Vanessa and Lyle, but I kind of saw it as she's probably been talking to Lyle a lot, and we just haven't really seen that, and plus, Lyle was the one that pulled her into, you know, he's the one that pulled her into the therapy in the first place, and he's the reason she's been going to Seward and everything. I couldn't think of her name for a second. How do I forget Seward? I don't know why. I just forgot her name. But Lyle wonders if something is wrong, but Vanessa says that she is well, and obviously she's not telling him about what's going on, probably because she doesn't want to concern him, and she doesn't want to have to push him away, because she knows that this is really what he wants to do. However, she asks there is something she can call on with expertise similar to Lyle's, and Lyle gives her a name, and they tell each other to take care of themselves, and I really did like the way that was done. Very nice scene, a good parting of ways for these two, but you can tell Vanessa, obviously, you know, she's not any better. She's still obviously not afraid, but she's ready to take on Dracula, you can definitely tell. So at Bedlam, Victor obtains a tranquilizer from Henry's retorts, and Jekyll, and Jekyll assures him that no being could withstand its potency, even Lily, and then she will be Victor's to do with as he will, and he wonders if Victor has the nerve to bring Lily there. Victor warns that Jekyll is the one who will need the nerve, and again, it's very interesting, and I've said before, we know the way this is going to turn out. It's going to be a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. I think they're definitely setting that up, and I think we are going to get to that in the season finale. Just the way this is going, I feel like that's got to happen. I mean, the fact that Victor keeps talking about this inner beast within Jekyll, but Jekyll's saying he doesn't really have it, I feel like definitely Hyde is going to come out at some point. That definitely is going to come out. And again, like I said, this whole good and evil thing, it really is starting to ruin their friendship a bit, and I do like seeing that. I like seeing them have this conversation. They're very divided, and it's probably the most interesting parts of this whole storyline. I really do like it. And I know a lot of people don't love the storyline because it's not really going anywhere, but this episode, it finally does go somewhere, and I really did love that. So two prostitutes come to Dorian's townhouse. They ring the bell. I almost forgot about this plotline, to be honest. I didn't completely forget about it, but it was just they haven't been focusing on it nearly as much since episode 3, obviously because we haven't seen it. But it was awesome to see it again. I really do love this storyline. Justine answered the door. The prostitutes asked if that's where the pale lady makes men bleed lives, and smiling, Justine ushers them into the main room where other prostitutes have gathered, and Justine is really very much developed from the past few episodes we've seen. I mean, as we know, she is capable of killing, she's capable of stabbing, and even mutilating, and we totally saw that here, because Lily uses Dorian, demonstrates the ways to kill a man. She asks who wishes to try, and Justine takes the knife. Dorian warns that he won't go easy on her. Justine tells him to treat her as he did the other women he paid for. She relives what men have done to her, and holds the knife to Dorian's throat, but hesitates, and Dorian warns that she's pushing her luck. Justine asks Lily if she'd like to see Dorian drown in his own blood, and as blood drips from Dorian's skin, Lily asks who the others would practice on. Justine draws back the knife, and the way that they're using Dorian, obviously, as we know, Dorian can't die. That's just the thing. Dorian's not able to die. He basically lives forever. He's, you know, many beings, as we saw last year in, like, that painting and everything. He's many different beings, and I think it's kind of cool. It's you know, kind of gross also, but the way that Justine is using Dorian to basically attack other men is really interesting. I do like the way that's going, and it's just really interesting that the direction this is going. Especially Justine, who I thought was gonna be this innocent girl, is not at all innocent at all. I mean, she is capable of killing, she's capable of stabbing, she's capable of a lot more things than you ever could think she was capable of, and I really do like that. So Caliban watched as a sleeping Jack lies in his bed, gasping from his illness, and you know what I love about this is that episode we, you know, had a couple episodes back, episode 4, where we learned that Caliban had a family when he was the orderly. I feel like that makes this plotline even more sad, because I'm thinking this is his family that he's not able to see, and once he's sure that he's unseen, Caliban goes down, brings Jack a cup of water. Jack mumbles father in his sleep and wonders if Caliban's an angel. The boy says that he heard his mother's friends say that angels would come for him soon, and obviously that means he's dying, which is really sad. Caliban holds the boy as he breaks into a fit of coughing. He says that he will bring him medicine and promises Jack that he will be well soon. Jack lies back and opens his eyes for the first time, stares in horror at Caliban's face, obviously, because just the way Caliban looks. He yells for help, and Caliban runs out to the street. He walks into an alleyway, drops to his knees sobbing, and it is probably the worst thing could ever happen for Caliban. It kind of reminded me, like I said, we just read Frankenstein in English class. I'm going to keep relating it to that, but very much remind me of Frankenstein. The scene where, spoiler, Frankenstein tries to learn English from the DeLacy family. Well, he tries to learn language from the creature tries to learn language from the DeLacy family, and he just can't do it because he ends up scaring them, and he runs out of time. Very much remind me of this scene. This is the one thing that Caliban wanted. He wanted to be able to be with his family one last time. he knows that his son is dying, and the fact that he was terrified, he ran out. I mean, it was probably the worst possible thing that could have happened. I really do feel bad for Caliban, especially knowing that he had a life as the orderly and all he did for Vanessa. I think it makes us care about this kid, not just love this character, but care about him even more than I already did. I really love what they did, and I thought they did some really good stuff there, and I really enjoyed that. So, the next day, Vanessa watches, and it was very sad as well, but I think very well handled and very well done. So next day, Vanessa watches as two fencers find a competition. The smaller one cheats, winning, and the defeated man demands her name, and the woman removes her fencing mask and says that her name is Catriona Hardigan, and Catriona is a new character that we're getting introduced to. Catriona says that it was creative improvisation, not cheating, and walks out. Vanessa follows her into the changing room, and says she doesn't fence, and Catriona points out that it requires a clarity of the mind lacking in the rest of the world. And when Vanessa says that Lyle sent her, because obviously Lyle gave her a name. This was the name he gave her, was to go to this woman, Catriona. And Catriona asks what she can do first. She says that she is a thanatologist. Now, what the fuck that is, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what a thanatologist is. You guys can tell me, I don't know. But right away we realize that she studies death. That's what she does. She studies death, and that obviously is going to help Vanessa. Vanessa doesn't flinch. Catriona admits that most people find her field of study off-putting, and in response, Vanessa says that she's not most people, and yeah, she's not. I mean, we've seen that clearly, that Vanessa is not at all, you know, normal. She's not normal. She is not even human, and that's something that's very interesting. I really did love that. They then go to this cafe. They have this really big discussion. There's a lot of stuff revealed here. She asks Catriona if she knows the name Dracula. Catriona has heard of the medieval warrior line. The Dracula, and Dracula was said to be the founder of the line, and Dracula is said to have provoked a war between the Ottomans and the Holy Roman Empire, so the world would be wet with blood, and peasants believe that Dracula fed on blood because he was a vampire, and Catriona, intrigued that Vanessa doesn't dismiss it as a myth, because obviously most people would probably think she's crazy by doing this stuff. I mean, if you were to go to like a fortune teller, you just think, oh, she's a fortune teller, it's her job, but obviously Vanessa knows that this is real, and that's the thing I love of this scene, is that Vanessa, Eva Green is just such a great actress in that scene. She can just, you can tell that this is real, you know, this is not for her anything she hasn't heard before. It says that Dracula is said to be the first vampire. He changes appearance and identity from century to century, is said to corrupt and lead men astray. Vanessa says she wishes to find Dracula now, explains that he is hunting her to seek her submission, and Catriona understands that submission is to another is unacceptable, even if she has to cheat, and Vanessa asks for her help, and the thanologist agrees to help look into it, but tells Vanessa that she must protect herself by surrounding her with people who would protect her, and Vanessa says that the most are gone, but she might have one, and Catriona tells her to go to them. Now, obviously, that one person she's referring to is Seward. That's the one person she's referring to. Seward's going to end up helping her. Love the way that was done. Really do love this character. I think it was a perfect introduction to her, and I hope we see more of her, because I like that she studies death. I do get that she is kind of replacing Lyle, but I understand that. I mean, Lyle didn't study death. Lyle studied more of the beast and things that the beast did, and this is much different than that. I really do love that, and I can't wait to see where this is headed. So that night, Victor goes to Dorian's townhouse, and we get a much needed scene that I think we've wanted since the season started. He picks a lock on the door. The prostitutes have gathered in the main room. Lily is dancing with Justine. Dorian comes in, asks if he can cut in. Lily tells him that he can have the next dance. And disappointed, Dorian stops the music, asks for a moment alone with Lily. Justine, the other prostitutes, leave. And Dorian warns that Justine may not know her place, and maybe she might be going too far. Because obviously, you know, she likes to kill, and she's kind of gang addicted. And Lily tells him that Justine says the same at Dorian. He insists that his place is at Lily's side, and he insists that they are equals and partners are as immortals, and Lily says that Justine is the heart and soul of who she was before her transformation, and Lily admits that sometimes she is the hate and loss of anger that Justine has, and remembers every man that ever used her. Again, remember, Lily remembers that she's a prostitute. She just doesn't have those she doesn't remember her name was Brona Croft. She just remembers that she was a prostitute, and she tells Dorian that it is something that he cannot know, and Dorian says that they should be someone else, and Lily says that it's a fantasy, and she's committed to the prostitutes. They kiss, and Lily wishes that it were true, and that it was just a fantasy, but it's definitely not just a fantasy, basically. You know, she wishes that it was true, but it's not. So Justine comes in with two of the prostitutes who are holding their knives to Victor's throats, and you have no idea what's going to happen in this scene. It's so well done. Vanessa then has drinks with Seward and tells her it was a blow to her when she lost Ethan and Malcolm, and Seward says that her husband beat her, and we find a bit more about Seward in this scene, which I love. I mean, like I've said, we've known that Seward's been kind of closed off and very standoffish in the first, like, several episodes, but then episode 4, now that she knows Vanessa's story, these two are no longer just, therapist and patient. These two are genuine friends, and because Seward really goes into her past her, Seward says that her husband beat her after their honeymoon, she killed him to save herself, and she stood trial for it. So now we know more of what's going on, what she's hiding, what she's doing in New York City, and knows what it means to be alone. So clearly that is why Seward was the way she was with Vanessa, because she's always been alone. She's only had Renfield, and Vanessa wishes that her friends were there, and Seward suggests that Vanessa would be better off having drinks with Sweet, and Vanessa says that she won't endanger Sweet. Now, obviously, she doesn't really think much of Sweet. She knows, obviously, Sweet tried to scare her, but she obviously, she doesn't think that Sweet is Dracula, and basically, Sweet suggests that Stewart suggests she gives Sweet the choice. The doctor says she has to trust people, and Vanessa will never know if she can unless she trusts. Now, you guys may think this annoyed me. It really didn't. This is not the point of the episode that annoyed me. I will get to that at the end of the episode, but for me, this works because Vanessa's just trying to get people. She's eager to get people on her side. She really doesn't have anyone, Sweet, someone she's getting close to. The best thing to do might be to, try to talk to Sweet and see if she can get him on her side. Of course, she doesn't know who he really is, but I think that's what's most interesting about this. So, at Dorian's townhouse, Justine asks Lily if she can kill Victor. Literally, she's saying that, and when Dorian tells her no, she ignores him. Lily tells Justine, not yet, now is not the time not to. Obviously, Victor just showed up. They're not just going to inexplicably kill him. So, Victor says that he intended to heal Lily, and when Lily insists that she isn't ill, Victor explains he developed a serum that will remove all of her anger and rage, making her human. And what I love about this is that you can tell that Victor really is serious here. Like, he really does want to help Lily. He doesn't want to have to kill her, because I think deep down he really did love her, and Lily says that her sadness is her own and she won't give it up, and she has suffered long and hard to be who she is now. That this is who she is, and she's not going to change it. And she is helping women stop prostitutes and not have prostitutes anymore because she doesn't want it. And Victor says that they were happy, and Lily tells him that he was happy, but she was just waiting for what she had become. And really, yeah, if you think about it, Victor didn't really give her a choice. She was to obey every one of his commands. He gave her all this information. She realized it was bullshit, and basically she figured everything out on her own. I really do like seeing that here. Justine prepares to cut Victor's throat, and when Dorian tries to stop her, she says that she doesn't take orders from any man. Dorian doesn't see the point in killing Victor because he loves Lily, and Justine insists that he has to die for being a man. Justine thinks that every man must die. So clearly they've made Justine a lot more of a monster than they ever wanted to, but I do like the direction this is going because Lily's convinced her that every man's a monster except for Dorian, and she said that to her straight out, that Dorian's the only guy that you can trust. And Lily stares at Victor for a moment. Dorian tells her not to, and after a moment, Lily agrees, admits that she's sentimental about Victor. They might yet need his unique services. She hugs Victor, tells him to mend his broken heart elsewhere because she is done with him, and I like that she isn't just going to kill him. The best thing to do is to leave him alone, because she's going to go on with her life, and she wants him to go on as well. So Lily promises that if she ever sees him again, she will cut his throat herself, and as Dorian leads Victor out, he says that Victor is in his debt and will call upon it, and now is going to be the time when Victor realizes that he cannot, in fact, save Lily, that Lily is going to be the way she is, she's not going to change, and he's probably going to have to kill her, and I don't think he's going to be the one to kill her. I think Lily honestly could kill Victor. Look back at that monologue in episode 8 of season 3. The power and control that she has over herself and over everyone else, the power that she has, she's capable of killing Victor. She totally could do that, and I think she honestly is going to do that. It's going to be very sad, obviously, if she does kill Victor, but I think that might be the direction that we're headed. I think that, Lily's going to kill Victor. I don't really see another way out of this except for her killing Victor, but maybe there's another way. I just don't really see right now, but that's kind of what I think is going to happen. So at the Talbot estate, Jared welcomes most of his guests to his table. The horses outside whinny, and Jared sends men to see what is wrong with them, and Jared says that he wants Ethan to stay Grace, and when Malcolm offers the patriarch, makes it clear he wants Ethan to do it, and it's a very interesting scene because you don't know if Ethan's actually going to say Grace, if he actually is going to, say things he doesn't believe in, and he says Ethan is sitting in Paul's chair where Paul said Grace, and of course we know exactly what happened to Ethan's family. We found out last week in that very graphic monologue that did reveal a lot of stuff that we need to know. And Malcolm says that he used to speak to his son the same way. He tried to mold his son into the man he wanted to be and suggests that Jared learn from his mistakes. And I like that Malcolm is on Ethan's side here. He's saying, look, you need to make sure that, Ethan is not who you want him to be, but who he wants to be. And Malcolm says that Ethan's a good man, despite whatever he has done. And even though Ethan is now kind of embracing the beast within him, he's not a bad guy. He's just starting to, change his faith. And Jared wonders if Malcolm would say the same thing if Ethan had murdered his children. Realizes that Malcolm doesn't know, and Rusk wonders how Ethan did it. Hecate tells Ethan to tell her when Jared describes how Ethan didn't have the courage to look his siblings in the face when he killed them. And Ethan finally yells Jared to stop because Jared, again, he's bringing back all those horrible demons that Ethan doesn't want to remember. And I like the way they painted Jared as a villain here. You know, they didn't try to make Jared look like a good guy and Ethan look like the bad guy. Because I know a lot of people thought we were taking Ethan in this dark, you know, villain-like direction. That's not what we're doing at all. Ethan doesn't really want to remember it. And he says grace, cursing God, ignoring Jared when he objects, and then eat as Hecate looks on, smiling because he's embracing the beast within him, and she's not upset about that because that's who he's meant to be. And Jared then notices Stout glaring at him, tells him to say what he has to say. Stout says that the men Jared had murdered aboard the train were his men, and he promises that there will be a reckoning before the night ends. And basically, apparently, Jared was the one that murdered all those men. Jared nods, says it's fair enough, then draws a gun, shoots Ostau dead. Ostau is dead, which I really didn't care about his character, honestly, so I'm not surprised. We weren't really supposed to. Jared's men then draw on Rusk and Malcolm. Ethan continues eating, and this was just an awesome scene. I mean, there was so much great action in this scene, and I loved it. I love the way that was done. Really incredible stuff there. I mean, and there's so much tension just going on in the scene. The fact that Jared is so pissed at Ethan because he has this beast within him, and he, you know, did all these terrible things, and obviously wants his son to repent for his sins and not just, you know, go along with them and embrace them. You know, Malcolm is trying to control, you know, trying to say don't control Ethan because Ethan is who he wants to be, and if he's not, he's gonna end up killing you because he knows exactly what could happen if he does do that. You got Ostau, obviously, who he murdered all his men of, and now Jared just killed him. So now it's full-on war. We'll get to that in a second because things really do get crazy there. But then we get to this scene with Vanessa and Sweet, and at first I was a bit upset about this scene, but really the context of it makes a lot of sense. Because Vanessa goes to the museum, closes it, finds Sweet working on his stuffed animals. She says that he must know how dangerous it is for him to be with her. She tells him that a creature has been hunting her since the dawn of time, wants to feed on her blood and make her his bride, and Sweet asks what the creature's name is. Vanessa says its name, and she asks if Sweet can believe her. He takes her to an exhibit that they're preparing on nocturnal animals. He shows her a vampire bat, says that he believes Vanessa because she knows such creatures exist, and there are creatures that have been cast into darkness, and the vampire's bats feeds on blood because it has no other choice. And Vanessa wonders if she should feel sympathy for Dracula, if she should actually feel bad for him. And Sweet says that he has loved all of the night creatures because they are shunned and alone. And honestly, look at Caliban. I mean, Caliban's being shunned and alone. However, he insists that he has no sympathy for any creature that means Vanessa harm and will stand at her side. And it's interesting because, of course, he is Dracula, but you're also wondering, what does he really mean by this? Because Vanessa says that there was another who swore to protect her, but he left, and, of course, that was Ethan. Sweet tells her that he knows what it is to be heartbroken and rejected. He assures her that nothing Vanessa has said has scared him away, promises that he won't leave her side, and again, just the fact that he hasn't left her side, that should make her feel, you know, like something's off, but again, he feels close to her, and she feels that closeness, and she doesn't have this closeness with anyone, so I think that's why she's not really, you know, thinking much of it. And they kiss for a moment. Vanessa warns that every time she has given her heart, it has led to catastrophe. Sweet says that he loves her for who she is, not who the world wants her to be. Vanessa kisses him, they drop to the floor, and the worst thing could possibly happen happens. Vanessa ends up having sex with Sweet. Of course, she doesn't realize it's actually Dracula, but it is once they're alone. Once they're done, Vanessa smiles, she cries, then kisses Sweet, and I really don't know where this is going. It's very interesting. I really do like where this is headed, obviously, because now Vanessa thinks she has someone on her side to take down Dracula, when really she just had sex with Dracula, and that's a very interesting situation, so I can't wait to see how that all turns out. But we'll have to see what happens next week. But then we get to the final crazy battle this episode, which is just, it's insane to talk about, and I cannot wait to get into it. Now, this is a very lengthy battle. There's a lot going on in this scene. I do wonder if this was maybe ended a bit too quickly, but at the Talbot estate, Jared invites Malcolm and Rusk to eat. Rusk asks if it was Ethan or Hecate who summoned the snakes, and when Jared asks what he means, Rusk says that Ethan and Hecate know more about the ways of mayhem than even Jared knows, and Ethan smiles, offers to show them. Hecate transforms to her witch form, kills one of Jared's men. Rusk stabs his guard. Malcolm grabs his. Ethan cuts the throat of the men behind him. It's clear that they're trying to kill pretty much everyone allied to Jared, which I love that Rusk was able to do, because, and again, we know what Rusk did. We know, of course, what he did last week now makes sense why we found that out. Rance gets Jared out, firing at Ethan. Ethan uses Dead Man as a shield. Rusk aims at Ethan. Hackett leaps up from the table, prepares to attack him. Meanwhile, Malcolm's men try to aim his gun. Malcolm knocks him to the floor. The man shoots at Malcolm and takes cover. Rusk aims his gun at Ethan, threatens to shoot him if Hackett attacks. The inspector wonders what they are, and Hackett says that they are the end of days. Jared's men gets the drop on Malcolm, and someone shoots him. Hackett leaps the distracted Rusk, but he managed to shoot her just as Ethan shoots him. Now, I heard a lot of people say this was like a Quentin Tarantino movie, and honestly, it was. I mean, this was graphic as shit, and I loved every minute of that. And then, out of nowhere, Kaeteney stumbles in. Kaeteney is apparently not dead. Somehow he recovered from that snake wound. I don't know how he did, but he did. And having shot Malcolm's attacker, he gets a rifle from Jared's cabinet, and meanwhile, Ethan goes to Hackett, and with her dying breath, she tells him that hell awaits them both, and basically, it seems Hackett's died, I guess, which, alright, I mean, I don't really know how to feel about that, but Hackett's died, which I'm kind of pissed about. I was liking their relationship. I don't know why she had to die, but I mean, Jared then takes his remaining men to the chapel, yells at Ethan to come get him. He says that if he dies, he'll die where his family died, and as Ethan reloads his gun, he tells Malcolm and Kaeteney how Jared will deploy his men. He says that Kaeteney knows what to do because he has attacked the chapel before. He and Malcolm go to the chapel door. Kaeteney shoots through a side wall, taking out one man, and Malcolm and Ethan run in firing. The trio kill Jared's men one by one. Ethan charges forward as Malcolm covers him. He shoots the gun out of Jared's hand, prepares to shoot him in the head, and Jared says that Ethan is truly his son. He tells Ethan to do it if he wants to be the devil and do the devil's work. Jared invites Ethan to go down his father in the house of God, but after a moment, Ethan lowers his revolver. Ethan walks off, and he's not going to kill Jared. He's not going to do that. You know, he just can't go through with killing his father. And then I kind of understood why Hackett died, because obviously Hackett dying, you know, the beast within Ethan died. But I just didn't really believe that Ethan wouldn't kill his father after all the crazy shit his father was doing. I feel like it just would have made sense. But Ethan walks off. Jared accused him of running away just like he's run all of his life. He promises to send more men to find him. When he dies, he'll haunt Ethan from the grave. And Malcolm shoots him dead. This is the last straw for Malcolm, you know, because Jared is no father to Ethan. He shoots him dead. Ethan stares at him in shock, and that is how the episode ends. Really crazy stuff. Let's just get in this episode because there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about the final scene for 1 second. Like I said, the only thing with this final scene is I think way too much happened in this final scene. I understand we have 3 episodes left. I do get that. I understand that obviously we really want to focus more on this Vanessa, you know, Dracula stuff, and we want to focus more on Victor and Lily. I totally understand that. But Hackett dying, I don't really know how to feel about that. I mean, we're giving Hackett so much good stuff to do last week. The fact that Hackett died, because, you know, the fact that Hackett, you know, admitted that she doesn't really like she only likes creatures. She does not like humans. You know, humans she can't stand. But just this idea that, you know, Ethan didn't murder Jared, I don't really buy it, but I understand why Malcolm did it. It actually makes so much sense why Malcolm did. I'm not at all upset about that. I mean, it perfectly makes sense to me why Malcolm killed him. Malcolm killed him because he doesn't see him as a father. You know, Malcolm knows what it's like to be a father. Malcolm knows what it's like to have children that were possessed by beasts and things like that. Jared is not a father in any way. You know, Jared is someone that is torturing his son. Jared is someone that makes his son feel like shit, and that is not something that Malcolm condones, and I really did love the way that was done. Really good stuff there, but now I'm guessing that they're going back to meet up with Vanessa because we need to get all of them back in England. I think that's really where we're headed because the final 3 episodes are going to be them taking on Dracula. But we'll have to see where this goes. Kaeteney's magically recovered. I don't really know how that happened, but apparently he's recovered. I mean, I thought he had a better chance of dying than Hackett, but Hackett apparently died, which is, like I said, the one thing in this episode I'm just not really okay with. I don't really like that Hackett died. I get that she died for Ethan, but I don't really like it. I feel like this relationship ended before it started, personally. Vanessa and Dracula is a very interesting situation because you know that Dracula, obviously, you know what he wants out of Vanessa, but at the same time, she just fucked Dracula. So what does she get out of it? What's going to happen there? I don't really know. That whole situation is going to be very interesting. The fact that Dracula, you know, we know, obviously, you know, he's trying to make Dracula seem like a good person, that he was misunderstood. I mean, it's interesting overall. I don't really know where this is going to go. If Vanessa's going to find out, if he's going to, you know, make her to a vampire. I don't really know. There are a lot of possible things that could happen here, and I really like that. Renfield is also a vampire, as we know, so I think that's really interesting. I like Seward, finding out more about her past, seeing Seward tell her, basically give her more advice, be less of a therapist and more of an advice friend. I do definitely like seeing that. I definitely think it's very good. That's the direction they're taking it in. And Patti LuPone is just killing in that role. She does such a good job every week, and she's killing it again in this role. I love Catriona. I hope we see more of Catriona. I really do love what they're doing with her character. I hope we see her again. There was really good stuff with her in this episode. And as far as Justine goes, I mean, they really got to control her, because obviously Lily's now brainwashed her. She's made Justine think that every man is terrible. Now, I don't think she completely brainwashed her, but obviously, she said to Justine, look, if you kill him, this is going to be the end of it. And she killed him, and now Justine wants to kill every man in sight, except for Dorian. But even Dorian, I think she's going to start to maybe turn against. I think if we're really putting Justine in this villainous direction, it's interesting, because obviously that's what Lily told her to do, is to, kill every man that you see, because they're all terrible, but now she's not liking what Justine is doing. So I think this is very interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what direction this is heading, because I don't really know. I love where that's going. Now, as far as Caliban, I don't know if Caliban's going to go back to Vanessa. I don't really know what he's doing. I think that is really sad. Obviously, what happened with Jack, I felt really bad for me because of that. I hope there's more to this. I hope we really do get more there. We'll have to see. And as far as Jekyll goes, like I said, I really do think we're moving into the Mr. Hyde part, where he is going to turn to Hyde. I think it is going to happen by the end of the season. You can't have Jekyll without Hyde. You just can't. I feel like it's got to happen at some point. But overall, guys, amazing episode. Apart from that one thing I did not like with Hecate, this was a near-perfect episode, especially the final scene. Holy shit, that was crazy. I was not expecting to get as crazy as it did. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Amazing stuff overall. Just loving this season. We now have 3 episodes left, which I can't believe. But yeah, we only have 3 episodes left. And we'll see you guys next week, which will be for the season premiere of Unreal, which I am so ready to talk about. And I am so happy it's back. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.